Hello, I'm Kathy Bissell. Welcome to the Golf Show 2.0. Recently, we've been doing some programs on distance, and today we're outdoing ourselves. Gary, would you introduce our guest?
We finally got someone who hits it farther than me. No, wait, even Sandra Carlberg hit it farther than me yesterday. So we've got the king of the hill, the champ, coming off a recent 500 and was it 579-yard drive.
hmm
The guy to beat in the World Pro, the PLDA Championship this week in Atlanta, Kyle Berkshire. Kyle, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's definitely been a fun week so far, and I'm looking forward to how things pan out later throughout the rest of this week. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
You made news just a few weeks ago, whenever it was, hitting that long drive in Wyoming. We have to start there because that was incredible. Tell us how that came about. Across like three different holes to have enough room. You needed a long runway. Tell us how that happened.
It's been on my mind for a while. When the pandemic shut down the tour in 2020, I started a YouTube channel, and I was driving around the country, and I heard about this course in Wyoming. So I was driving past it, decided to stop and play it while I was on my way out to the West Coast. And on like the 14th hole, on that particular day, it was straight downwind on the 14th hole, and I hit a drive like 480, 490. And again, just my swing, just kind of swinging it, not really going at it. And so I kind of realized at that point, this is where I could hit the longest drive ever recorded. I knew at the time the number was 551. So over the last couple of years, I've wanted to do it. I've tried to start it, but just didn't quite have the situation lined up because the issue is golf club manufacturers, they come out with their new stuff in February, January. So I bring it up with sponsors and they'd be like, yeah, let's do it. But we want to time it around the release of a driver. And the problem is Wyoming, it's way too cold in the winter. So
Yeah.
that was always the issue. We had a couple of false starts where we'd start to get things organized, but it just something wouldn't work out. But I've started this new YouTube group called the Bombers Club, and I thought this would be a great way to jumpstart that group is by doing it with the crew that I had, and with the backing of 8 a.m. Golf and all those people. And so we threw this together in less than 3 weeks. We realized I thought we would just end up doing it at some point next year, and then I think it was like early September. We said the executives are saying, well, it'd be great if we could do it this year. And I was like, well, with Worlds coming up, our window is probably the first couple of days of October. And reached out to the people in Wyoming, and they said it's going to be a little sketchy. It's probably okay. Our season extends through like mid-October, so it's going to be close, but probably. So we decided we had a California trip planned, filming with Michael Block and a few other people, and then we actually cut that short a day because the planned day to do it was Wednesday, but the weather was deteriorating rapidly on the forecast, so we moved it up to Tuesday, left California a day early, and it was supposed to be 68, 69 degrees, 25-mile-an-hour winds, straight downwind, but it ended up being a high of like 52 after the fact and like rain most of the day. So two of my group members were playing a match in the morning to get some content for us, and I was planning on doing the attempt at 4 o'clock. And so we originally were going to try to hit off the 14th tee onto the fairway, but the angle of the wind was such that I had to move it from the 12th green over the 18th fairway and onto the dog leg, the end of the fairway in 14, because the dog leg's a little bit left the last 100 yards on hole 14. And that dog leg left actually meant I hit it straight at the green from hole 12's green. It was like a 488 carry to get back to the fairway on 12, and we were able to paint a grid off of that. So that's why people see two different grid lines painted. I had one grid and then an alternate grid in case the weather didn't cooperate. And so we did end up having to use that alternate grid. But
So you should have gotten credit for hitting like 3 or 4 greens and 3 or 4 fairways in regulation, right?
I guess, yeah. You could say it like that, I guess. So I arrived at the club like 11, doing some other stuff, getting things ready for 3 or 4. That was the plan. And then one of my team members comes busting through the doors like, dude, you got to go now. You got to go right now. Because he'd been out playing and he knew what direction the wind was. He's like, it's straight downwind right now. This is your best opportunity. And so we actually scrambled over 100 people inside of 15 minutes. And he told me this at 11:45. I had balls in the air at 12:05 on 12th green onto the 14th fairway. And it was one of those things where it was unbelievably clutch because by the time I only had about a 30-minute window to hit before the rain came. But my first 20 swings, I did it on my 8th ball. 579. But what happened was the wind quickly started shifting from a helping crosswind to a straight crosswind. And then the rain hit. We had about a 25, 30-minute window all told for me to do it. And then so my idea was I was going to do a little bit that morning. And I was like, okay, I got the record. I wanted to go over 600 later in the day. And by the time 3 or 4 o'clock rolled around, the weather was completely impossible. I mean, it was driving rain just and a headwind on both grids. So it would have been a complete zero. But there were all these people showing up, and I didn't want them showing up and to not get to watch anything. So we were sitting in the grill room, and I felt like the carpet was pretty sturdy, pretty good grip. So we had it. Our sponsor for that video was the Net Return. So we actually brought the net inside, cleared out the tables and all that from the grill room, and I did a speed session in the grill room just to hit some balls, and I ended up setting a world record ball speed later that afternoon at 241.6. So it was a really cool thing. It was kind of nice to double dip on records, and it was great content for our YouTube group. And our YouTube group has been blowing up ever since, so it's been amazing. Just it worked out really well.
Obviously, you're going to have to go back when it's warmer in the summer.
Well, you will.
And get 600, and this should be, never mind the internet, this should be like a TV show. This should just be live TV. That'd be great. I'd pay-per-view. I would pay to watch that.
I mean, I'd love to do it. I mean, the weather was certainly not good. It was about 51 degrees Fahrenheit and cloudy and 20-mile-an-hour winds when I hit that shot. And it was what I couldn't believe was I was able to get to 233 ball speed in that weather. That was crazy. And but no, we 100% have plans to come back in the spring, and also to have it where I'm downwind on 14, not having to hit. The alternate grid was tougher because the landing area was so small. Downwind on 14, the fairway is humongous. So you're going to land more balls in the fairway and have a better chance of balls running out really far. So that would have been a lot easier.
I have a basic question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you even see a ball land when it's that far away from you?
Not that far. Like, so the World Championship, we're hitting, it's kind of more neutral conditions. So like we're carrying it like 370, 380 when you hit a good one. And I'm seeing a lot of those balls land if they're like the yellow balls or the orange balls. The white ones and the pink ones I can't really see, but I can see. I have a pretty trained eye for it, so I can see those. But yeah, you're not seeing balls because the ball that went 579 carried about 512 in the air. So you're not seeing that. No way.
Yeah, even Superman's looking at that going, where did that go?
Exactly. That's why we have people in the grid calling balls back and all that. And,
okay. So you knew right away how far they went.
Once they stopped, yeah. I mean, we actually have the whole video up on our channel. I mean, it was pretty cool to see how it all came together.
What's the time between when you hit it and when it stops rolling? How many seconds?
That was actually the other issue, was the ball was moving for so long that we were only able to get off like 1.5 balls every minute. Like, because the whole thing from me hitting the ball to it being called back was at least a 30-second ordeal. And like, I obviously, if the wind gusts, I'm going to want to start hitting a bunch of balls to try to catch that wind. But like, obviously I can't, because I can't hit one ball in the air and then while that's being tracked, hit another one, because then it won't be good for the video. So that was the toughest part, was like, I couldn't just be hitting one after the other. I had to take like 45 seconds between swings so that the ball could be called back and captured on camera and all that stuff. So that was the toughest part.
Well, you played some college golf at North Texas State, and you played at Central Florida, and you discovered that, your propensity for hitting it massive shots outstripped your propensity to shoot low. I think clearly you've made the right choice, because you're world champion, you're a world record holder. You're not looking back at that at all, are you?
You'd be surprised. I actually do from time to time, because the University of North Texas has one of the highest success rates for producing successful pros in the country, Vinny College. And like, the two guys I came in with as freshmen are both successful pros now. They're not like household names, but they're making $500,000 a year on average. You're talking. So Thomas Rosenmuller just missed getting his card on the PGA Tour for the first time. He finished like 32nd or 33rd in the Korn Ferry Tour standing. So he's got a full card on Korn Ferry, and he's playing well. And my other roommate, Ian Snyman, if you remember, Liv offered 5 qualifying spots for their first Liv event. And he got one of those 5 spots and played in like 4 events and made like $800,000. and he's
Wow.
got full stats on the Asian Tour. So they're both successful
Wow.
pros that are making $500,000, you know. And then I had Carlos Ortiz, Sebastian Munoz, two guys you might have heard on the PGA Tour. Sebastian was a year ahead of me, so Carlos was 2 years ahead of me. But like a lot of the guys that I played with in college are either successful pros or played pro, made a little bit of money, and then decided to pursue other stuff, but are still very high level amateurs. And like myself, my issue is like I could go low really well. I just had trouble stringing it together for consecutive rounds. But like on any given day, I could go really deep. And for me, it was just more of a what gravitated me towards long drive was in golf you can have 17 great holes and have one bad hole completely ruin a round. But in long drive, at the time I got into it was 8 balls, so you could have 7 bad swings, and a great swing can completely redeem an entire set. So that was what initially attracted me to the sport. And I'll be honest, if it hadn't been so clear, I had to have so many signs given from the sport and the people around me to keep pursuing it. Like my first qualifier, I hit a 474-yard drive and won the qualifier. And if I hadn't won it, that would have probably been my only tournament I ever participated in long drive, because I was pretty set on going back and starting the spring of my sophomore year of college, because I felt really close with my game. You know, I really did. But so since that was a qualifier for Worlds, all right, I'm committed to Worlds now. So I figured I'd do a little bit of long drive throughout the summer, still play competitive golf. I still had a spot in the team waiting for me that fall. And I went to Worlds and I almost won it. And that's when I truly realized, because when I saw they had the TrackMan numbers and things popping up on the telecast, and when I saw my numbers, I had no clue I was 220 ball speed. No clue. I just thought I was getting a lot of good kicks down in the grid, and I was getting a lot of good bounces, and I was flighting the ball really well. I had zero clue that I was one of the 4 fastest guys in the entire tournament. And that's when I realized, like, I can win this tournament. Like, I actually can. And, you know, so then from there, I decided to give myself 3 years to win the World Championship. And if I didn't win it within 3 years, I would just go back to pro golf. And I won it all in 2019. And at that point, you know, my path was fairly set, because once you win a World Championship, you're pretty much going to be able to make a really good living from long drive, more or less the rest of your life.
Oh, that's terrific. I was going to say there'd be nothing to stop you from reversing your plan and going back to playing professional golf if you wanted to.
Yeah, I've done it every winter. I play mini tour events, and I still play a lot in the winter. I've great setup down at West Palm Beach, you know, and my game still, when I get a couple months to really work on my game in the winter, it gets really, really good by like late January, early February. And I play some competitive events still. I can hang with a lot of the guys out there if I have a good day. And for me, I've never ruled it out.
That would make great TV. I told Jamie Sedlowski the same thing, a former world champ. It's like, all you need to do is get a sponsor's exemption to the first event in Hawaii. Bring your geared up driver and, you know, knock it on one of the par 4 greens right away while people are watching on TV, and they're going to go crazy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You're going to get all the sponsors exemptions you need and have that opportunity to play your way in there. So, I mean, that's an option. That's an option for you, because that would be, you could bring, you know, Happy Gilmore comes to life, 400-yard drives on tour.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely an option. I mean, I will say it's very different than people realize, because the faster you swing a golf club, the more offline it's going to go, even with the same angles. So like when you swing 140 miles an hour on the course, it can be very difficult to control it. So when I play competitive professional golf in Florida in the winter, I won't bring anything more than like a 5-iron or 4-iron. I'm not even kidding. I'll lay back with everybody else, just because it's the easiest way to keep the ball in play. And, you know, for me, I've had a couple sponsor invitations that I've turned down, because if I'm going to do it, I want to make sure I'm doing it when I'm ready. I don't want to just go in there with 2 weeks of prep. You know, I don't want to show up and play really poorly. I want to be ready. And for me,
and it's not the same swing either. You know, it might mess with your long drive efficiency if you're trying to gear up to play, you know, competitive golf.
Yeah, I mean, the way I would approach it is if I'm going to hit driver, I'm going to send it. Like, I'm not going to try to keep it straight. Like, so a great course for me to play would be Torrey Pines. I'm sure you guys know the Junior World Championship is held there every year. Yeah. And that was actually my breakthrough tournament. I think in 2013, I almost won it in 2013 in the 17U division on Torrey Pines South. And that was like my breakthrough moment, where all of a sudden I became a Division I prospect. And it's just because that course sets up really well for me. I was able to bomb driver the entire tournament.
It
And
has space on it. It has space where you can, it's not.
And a big hitter
Yeah,
usually
close.
wins that tournament every year. Not, I mean, not every single year because of the weather, but if you're wagering, you're looking at what big hitters are playing, like John Rahm or whomever.
Well, and that would be my strategy. I don't really have any interest in trying to get a full-time PGA Tour card because a lot of people who ask me that, I'm very close to the golf scene. I've been a golfer my entire life. My first tournament I played was when I was 3 years old. I've been a golfer my entire life. A lot of the guys on tour I've grown up playing professional golf, competitive golf with, like Marcus Bird. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Marcus Bird, but I supported him at the Honda Classic early this year, just the PGA Tour debut. Grew up playing with him all the time. So, but the reason I say that is I know how good these guys are. I know how hard it is to get status anywhere. So for me, it would be a very massive disruption to the business I have going and the things I have going on. I don't want to say I couldn't do it. If you gave me 3 years and no issues with expenses or money and to just go for it, if you gave me 3 years to really dial it in, I think I would be very, very close. And I think I'd have a good shot to get status at least somewhere. But like,
and it might take that long because you have to rearrange your game, right?
So I knew if I was going to pursue professional golf, the reason I chose long drive was I believed I could become a world champion in long drive quicker than I could get on tour and golf. But I did believe I would eventually get either of those. But I thought becoming a professional golfer, it would probably take about 5 or 6 years of me really grinding to get my card because I wasn't a standout golfer, but I knew I was good enough. If I put 4 to 6 years of consistent competitive training and really working on it, I knew that I could definitely be very close and be right there, just like my roommates are right now. They're right there on that edge where they just need to get like a quarter shot better, and they're going to be on the PGA Tour. So like that was kind of my decision-making process was like, do I think I can win a world championship quicker or get on the tour quicker? And I definitely felt like it would be a 2 to 4 year deal for me to win a world title and probably a 3 to 6 year deal for me to win, to get on the tour. But if I did do a tour event, I probably want it to be the Farmers Insurance at Torrey because I think if it's in February, January, so I'll have 2-3 months to really get ready because it's off season for long drive. You can bomb it around there. I've played almost 40 competitive rounds of golf there. The grass is the same grass I grew up playing in Maryland, so I'd be very comfortable there. And you can really bomb it. I'd probably be able to hit like 8 or 9 drivers per round, which for me is unheard of to be able to do that on a golf course.
You mentioned laying up with your 5-iron. Just how far do you hit it? Because everyone wants to know so they can be demoralized.
I mean, I would say I hit my 5-iron off the tee about 250, 260, right around there. Off the deck, probably like 240. But it's a great club for me to hit in tournament play because, I have a lot of control over my long irons. So my first tournament back in 5 years when I played on a mini tour in Florida last year, I was super proud. Across 2 rounds, I didn't lose a single ball. I just hit 5 4-iron in play and just plugged along, and I didn't cash a check, but I didn't embarrass myself. I think I finished out of like 70 people. I think I finished like 42nd or 43rd. So I was pretty. I mean, the pressure I felt and the microscope I was under, I felt pretty good about that.
Well, you have a very extended swing, both going back and your follow through is just amazing. I mean, it seems to be more extended even than Rory McIlroy's. How much work does it take to get to be that supple?
I would say the biggest thing was just repeated bouts of speed training was very huge for me. So like consistently pushing my body faster and faster, swinging as hard as I could a couple times a week over the course of 3 or 4 years, and also the mentality of trying to get a little faster every session. That really helps. It's just a compound effect. It's like weightlifting. If you go to the gym for the first time versus 5 years later when you've been in the gym, 5-6 times a week for 5 years, the weight you're
like me right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like the weight you're lifting 5 years from now is probably a weight you couldn't even imagine lifting when you first went in the gym. It's kind of like that. Like when you do your first speed training session, the speeds you'll be able to hit, 3-4 years down the road after consistent training you never thought were possible. And I'm the same way. I went on the record in 2019 saying that I thought 240 ball speed was possible when the world record ball speed was 227, and people thought I was an idiot. And but I knew if I just kept getting 1 or 2 miles an hour faster every year for a couple of years, I would be really close. And it finally happened a couple of weeks ago.
I covered a number of the World Long Drive finals out in Mesquite, in part because I love watching the different golf swings and how guys approach trying to hit it far. There's some crazy swings that aren't even related to golf, and yet they move it out there, and there's some really good swings. I noticed that you use this is counterintuitive. You've got a regular flex shaft.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the experimenting that went on, and you arrived at that, because I'm sure you get that all the time. Nobody can believe that.
So a lot of people believe the stiffness of the shaft is important to long drive success. It's actually the loft of the club. Spin loft, the lower we can make our spin loft at higher speeds, the better we manage spin. So shaft doesn't really matter too much. The big thing with me is a more flexible shaft allows me to create a little more speed because it causes more toe rotation, because a shaft will kick down to the bottom of the swing. It's certainly not as accurate, but it does produce similar amounts of balls in the grid. It's just the misses are much worse. But in long drive, if you miss the grid by 5 yards or 200 yards, it doesn't matter. It just matters if you hit the grid. And I found I hit the grid a similar amount of times with a regular flex shaft. But in golf, I hit a 2x flex because it does matter if you miss the fairway by 5 yards or 50 yards. So it's a little different with golf, but for long drive, the regular flex shaft, I just can create more speed. And more importantly, it's easier on my body. I don't have to do as much work with my body. I can just let the shaft create the speed. And especially for really long tournaments and when you have long seasons, the more you can protect your body, the better.
Let's get to the important stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Your hair and your look, said the bald guy. You got great. How did one of the stories I read, it referred to you as the Viking. Is that your actual nickname, or do you have one? But
I don't have a nickname, but I would.
You look like one of the three musketeers with the beard, the goatee, and the beard, and the mustache, and the hair. It's it's a great look. It's a great thing to build a brand on, to make yourself identifiable like that.
I certainly would not be upset with being known as the Viking. That would be I'm certainly happy with that. I've actually been kind of getting more serious on my looks. I had one of my buddies who's like really into that kind of stuff, like style my beard out a certain way, and I do at this point. I do take my looks a lot more seriously because I think it's important as a performer to look a certain way.
Yeah.
This is totally, the hair is totally just like for looks. Like if I had my way, I would probably not have the hair. It's just such a nuisance to deal with sometimes. But it was one of those things where in college, when I was still kind of working my way up on a long drive tour, I had pretty short hair in college, and I was in the barber shop, and my barber just never showed up to cut my hair. So I just left.
That was it.
The rest is history.
Yeah. And then I had about a month later, we had our first televised event in May that year, 2018. And my hair was just long enough to be noticeable. And then Jonathan Coachman started referring to my hair. And then I just kind of let it grow out the rest of the year. And then by 2019, it was pretty much in full force.
Well, the Viking's not bad, but Thor might be a good one, and
that's good.
You can maybe even get a little bit of a costume to go with it. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
That might be over the top, though.
I'll have to see what my sponsors say about that. Maybe they can make me a Cobra themed costume. I don't know.
So now, when you're in the long drive competition, you normally hit the. You got Cobra. You had Cobra driver and Titleist ball in the competition.
No, I hit the
Cobra. Everybody's using the Bridgestone.
So everybody has to use the Bridgestone E9, and I hit Cobra Aerojet. But the Titleist ball is the fastest ball on the planet. They've supported me since they're actually my earliest sponsors. They supported me since I was 16. Right after I almost won the Junior World Championship, they signed me to a junior deal. So I got support from them, and they've actually continued it. It's kind of like a very relaxed relationship. I can just call them and they'll give me some stuff whenever I need it. But I play Cobra stuff. They've been great supporters of mine, and they make really good stuff. And it's great to work with engineers and really have a hands-on experience with the drivers I'm hitting and things like that. So it's been a really, really cool relationship.
You had a broken hand?
Mm-hmm.
How did you do right that here.
See the
that one?
Yeah, there you go. You can see that little cut right there. That's the incision for the hamate fracture. It's the same injury Bryson had.
Yeah, so it was the same, right?
Yeah, and so I competed in Worlds 19 days post-surgery, and I made it all the way. I finished top 10, which honestly was a shock to me. I just wanted to show up and defend my title, see the best I could. I didn't think I knew it'd be very difficult to win because I hadn't hit balls for 3 weeks. My first swings back were the day before the tournament, but the amount of stuff I had to do for it was a full-time job, just keeping that thing in the game. By the round of 16, I had a lot of speed, but it just felt like every time I hit a ball, I felt like I was getting shot in the hand. Like it just was brutal. And if I were to put my hand palm down on a counter, I literally felt like I had a tennis ball under my hand. That's how much inflammation there was. So it was pretty. I had to change my grip and everything to adapt for it. But I made it really deep, and I made a great run. But fortunately for me this week, I have a tiny little oblique strain, but it's literally like pretty much nothing. And so I think I'm the healthiest I've been in a while for World Championships, which has been nice.
What do you do? Do you put some kinetic tape on there, or how do you?
I just keep heat on it. I have a doctor here with me. He works on it, but I mean, it feels awesome. Actually, I mean, it feels almost like I have to keep reminding myself which oblique I have the issue with because I don't feel it.
That's good.
So I have to remind myself.
Good if that's where you are.
Well, I like to have at least one question you probably haven't been asked, so I'll try this. What's the most memorable putt you've ever made?
So I would say that's a good question. There's a couple, but I would say it was at the Junior World Championship. I made about a 25-footer on 18 to get into the second to last group of the final round. That was a big deal for me because I was like trying to close out a really good round and blew my driveway left, had to lay up, and they had the pin in the back right corner and hit a great wedge, but it just spun off the shelf. And there were like a ton of college coaches watching, and a lot of people were watching because I was new to lead. And I knew if I made the putt, I would be in the second to last group with, I think it was Lucas Herbert. You guys might have heard of him.
Oh, yeah.
And I canned it, and it was so I knew I was going to have a ton of fun the final round, and that was really cool. And then I guess the other one would be my senior year in high school. I made like a 25-footer to win the state championship for our team, which was really cool. So those are two I don't forget.
And that was in Maryland?
Yeah. Do you have video of that somewhere? Did anybody film that?
There's video, I believe, of the one at Torrey Pines, and I'm sure I'll have to ask my teammates from Maryland. I mean, from my high school. I'm sure it exists somewhere. I just haven't really looked at it because at the time,
nothing means more than making the shot at the buzzer in any high school event. That's a memory for a lifetime. That's cool. No matter how many world championships you win, you're always going to have that putt. But yeah, nobody asked the long drive guy about his putting, so I thought I would.
No, I mean, my putting it's pretty. I mean, when I can get dialed in and really practice, it can get pretty good. It's just a matter of having the time and energy to really pursue that part of the game. That's the tough part, but I always do so in the winter.
I guess we need to know if you have a walk-up song.
It would be Stranglehold by Ted Nugent. I don't have that, but I would like to have that as my walk-up song, like the first probably minute of Stranglehold. I promise if you play that, you're going to be ready to run through a brick wall within a minute. That's definitely
I think Ted Nugent has run through a couple of brick walls too. So very
good.
The
kind of music he has, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome. Good luck in the World Championships. It's just fun watching the swing a club. Anybody who's out there should go check it out. Check out the Bombers Club, which that's a YouTube channel. Is that right?
Yep. It's been. I mean, we started it 3 weeks ago. Started launching it, and I mean, it's been incredible. We've been getting like 100,000 views a day on it. It's been insane. But
I'm subscribing. Count me in.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, people should subscribe to us, like us on the YouTube. Subscribe. Nothing will happen to you. It just helps us out because our long-term goal is we'd like to earn 17 cents operating this channel. So
I know how you guys feel there.
We got the world champion here. What an honor! It's fun to watch you play, and I can't wait to. I really want to watch the show when you go back to Wyoming on a warm day because there's no limit, I think, on how far you might be able to bust one up there. So
it's dry. Yeah. It's dry, so you don't have the humidity dragging the ball down. So good luck this weekend.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for being here.